Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmo, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, eh? In diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to On Point. Today is Sunday. It's on Eagles winning Sunday. It's good to be here with you. I have here with me so far to discuss today's topics, Mr. Joseph Towell. Welcome, Joe.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here. We are doing good in Houston today, but we're not used to your call from up there, my man. It's down here.
And congratulations. You guys went as far as the playoffs. Unfortunately, you got knocked out by the Chiefs.
Oh, the Eagle?
No, I meant the Texans.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, it's nice to have you. Mr. Gay, Anthony, welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Booty, good enough to join us all the way from across the pond, they said from London. Welcome aboard.
Oh, yes, always great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, gentlemen, here are the topics that were sent out to me by our producers today. I believe the IG is all over in over the social media. Apparently, driving from somewhere home or going home or coming from home, but it happened upon some police officers, I guess, in the middle of the streets with bags of money, arrested these people and posted whatever he did with them on social media. But the comments have been, quite furious and fierce and coming in. Are these people really responsible for what is happening? Is there a deeper reason for these people doing what they do? And so we'll dig a little deeper into what may have led to what they did, not exactly championing or condoning what happened, but we think there is always an effect, a cause and effect situation. So what we saw, we believe, was the effect. We'll take a look at the cause. We'll also go back to what happened over the weekend or throughout the week in Nimba. We had almost all the who's who in politics assembled to bid farewell to the late Prince White Johnson. He has left us and gone to the great beyond. There were lots of things said and done. This program, we'll take a look at those. And then we'll conclude with, of course, the brouhaha at the House of Representatives. We know they have resumed their session and the minority bloc has decided to join in. what does that portend? So we'll also take a look at that. Let's also welcome Ricardo Gabriel. Welcome to the show.
He's muted.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Dr. Booty, could you tell us, could you help us situate what happened between the IG and the police officers that is trending now on social media?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm the best person to report on it, but so a friend of mine had posted on Facebook a video from the IG's Facebook account, or pictures, basically chastising some police officers on the highway to Monrovia. I think it was coming from around somewhere beyond Banga or something like that, and basically pointing out how these officers were terrorizing drivers who were flying the road, and how these behavior that he felt were unacceptable and corrupt, and obviously demonstrating his conviction to root out corruption from the police. Now, for those of us who don't know how to keep our mouth shut, I responded to the video saying basically, so I wrote a post suggesting that, look, one, the actions by the IG I felt were more a publicity stunt. I think when you look at the situation in Liberia, we know corruption in the police the police entirely is a corrupt institution, as are many institutions in Liberia. And at the top, you've got individuals who make thousands and thousands of dollars a month, and they're still corrupt. And you're asking a police officer who gets about, I don't know, $150 a month. That is not even enough to pay or to live on, pay fees, pay for rent, pay for food, to stop collecting low $5, low $10 there. Now, this is not me saying that police officers on the street harassing drivers is acceptable. No. My issue was the way that the IG chose to deal with it, to do a video and then post it on Facebook, chastising someone who's struggling to make ends meet. And my point was, if you're serious about ending corruption in the police force, pay the guys at the bottom a living wage, right? Let's pay them a living wage. Pay them enough money that they can survive on, and let's see whether they'll still terrorize drivers for $5 or $10. Again, these guys are doing it because they need to survive. Again, it's not right. Nobody's saying that it's right, but they're doing it to survive. You're at the top, you have all the money, and you're still corrupt. But you're not talking about yourself. You're not dealing with yourself, and you're trying to make an example of someone who you shouldn't be making an example of. And even if you wanted to do it, maybe you would have done it better in-house and handle it that way instead of going. And before coming on the show this evening, I saw Focus on Africa, Focus on Liberia had posted a statement from the IG wherein he's accepted the feedback without really taking accountability for his actions, right? And so, unfortunately, again, my mouth can sit in one place. So I went and posted, like, look, this is a classic non-apology apology, right? You're saying sorry, but not taking accountability and not really telling us how you're going to handle stuff. So look, unfortunately, he's not the first. Most big shots in Liberia believe that they can make examples of the ordinary man whilst they themselves condone corruption. And I didn't want to go too deep into the eldritch arrest and violation of his constitutional rights. I didn't want to go into the presumption of who's responsible for the burning Capitol building, even when they hadn't even done any thorough investigation, because those are also acts of corruption. They're not just taking money from people. Once you're abusing the system to benefit someone else, that is corruption. So, but anyway, I was really angry about it, and I talked about it, and that's basically what it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Booty. Gabriel, welcome again. Dr. Booty is making some points here. I mean, throughout our history, not too long ago, maybe for you guys who are so young, we remember Alvin Jones, J. Alvin Jones, one-time finance minister, bring down, I think, 2 people and whip them right in front of the Minister of Finance when, in fact, Alvin Jones himself was busy constructing Van Moma House, or whatever it is, even though we learn later on that belongs to Samuel Doe. But Dr. Booty's point is, society seems to quickly punish, the little guys when, the big kahunas who are rigging in the millions, are left, to enjoy their loot. What do you make of this?
Thank you. It's a great question, and I think we had this conversation on a previous show, and I would just say exactly what I said on that show as well, which is I think Dr. Booty actually alluded to some of that as well. Perfect example, the incident with the supposedly prospect who was allegedly accused of, burning down the Capitol building. This is a very sensitive incident. I understand the magnitude of, the crime. However, whatever evidence they have against him, that needs to be processed through the court, right? So let's say even if you were accused, we collected evidence against you. We cannot manhandle you just because we thought, you were the, alleged accuser, right? We have to go through the legal process. My problem, which I think Dr. Body alluded to as well, in the midst of the investigation, without the conclusion, without that whole case going through the court, the president came up.
Gabe, let me remind you quickly, Dr. Booty, that was just a sidebar. The main issue we're discussing here is the IG's reaction. I'm not sure if you read, the IG is all over social media, Gregory Coleman, for reporting, I think, some police officers who he happened upon on his way on the highway with bags full of money, and went on social media to report that, these people were engaged in acts unacceptable, and therefore they were being made to bear the full weight of the law. Dr. Booty is simply saying that the IG is pulling a publicity stunt. These people really, what they were doing was the result of not being fully compensated. So I just want to make sure we're not going into the Capitol 85.
So and again, part of my not being familiar with the incident. I'm not familiar with that scenario.
Okay.
But I think it's kind of speak a little bit, context to the issue there, which is pretty much people not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In that case where he's supposed to, as an IG, you see such thing happening, you cannot just conclude. You cannot just conclude, especially as an IG. You're supposed to wait, or at least do whatever investigation that need to be done before you can't make such social media posts. But the exact incident I'm not familiar with. I haven't read up on it yet. So again,
granted.
mistake.
I'll spare you the misery. Yep. Anthony,
yep.
Brother Gay. To give us to Dr. Booty's point, can we argue that these people were fully aware of the compensation, right, set out for these roles that they're occupying, and they sign up knowing that they will be compensated, whether it's $150 or $200, and they sign up for it? How now do they expect, or do they complain that they are underpaid and therefore they'll go out in the street and harass people? Is that a valid argument to make?
Well, he has a point. Is there a valid argument? There's validity to his argument, absolutely. But to your point, yes, they signed up for the job, but they are also hearing other people within the same government where they work are making huge amount of money. We just recently saw a gentleman from the LTA who generator gets $3,600 every month. That
I
can
get
be.
it. I get a point, Anthony.
Hold on.
Now,
Now,
no, I get a point, but let me put this on the table and then you can just address it
all
in totality. I get a point. There are a lot of people in government who are corrupt. I get it. But are we saying here, because Peter is doing it, therefore I should do it? I mean, if it is wrong and these officers are aware of it, I mean, they sign up for $150, whatever the compensation is. Should we then have pity on them that they sign up for pennies when others are making this much? Knowing very well that is what they had appropriated for this job and coming into this job, being fully aware that's what they were going to be paid. Why should we accommodate?
No, sorry, Mr. Gate, sorry. Let me just say something quickly to Mr. Nangwe's point, right? What you have to understand, Mr. Nangwe, let's put some context on here, right? So I have an auntie who worked in the Liberian government before the war, like during the Dole regime, who was making about 70-something Liberian dollars at the time, which was a lot of money, right? 70-something Liberian dollars was a lot of money because it was about, I think, 2 to 1 with the US dollars or something like that.
yes.
What you have to understand is most of these salaries were in place way before we even started fighting war. And we have not taken into consideration inflation. We've not taken into consideration the fact that the value of the money is not as good anymore. Right. And not only that, but these guys, my point was never that, the officer is right. And I did point that out. My point was, this is not the way to handle it, Mr. IG. Do it in-house. Like Brother Carter talk, investigate. In case we go find out that that man brother get him back up money, then you finish putting the mail on social media.
Got you. Mr. Gay, go ahead and finish your point then.
Sorry.
So to the point I was making, and that the Buddha just took some of the points I wanted to make. But to the point I was making, I am not condoning any form of corruption.
Okay.
I want to say I do not condone any form of corruption, direct or indirect, right? But if you are serious to fight corruption, then part of the way of fighting corruption is to pay the people living wage, set a standard, because I'm pretty sure he is not the first police officer, will not be the last police officer. Almost every one of them are collecting
I tell you,
money.
From the time we were little kids, that's how it's always been like.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There's checkpoints everywhere. Myself, I was in Liberia, and I was not even the driver. I was sitting in the back seat. And the police guy asked me for my driver license. And I said, I have a U.S. driver license. I don't drive in Liberia. I just came here for a visit, but I can show you my driver license. And I show you my U.S. driver license. And you're like, my man, you know what I'm talking about, right? And you want that money anyway. So these are things that they do. A lot of checkpoint. Senator Yaya the other day questioned the IG. Why are so many unnecessary checkpoints and people, I guess, getting money from people, especially in Grand Jide? In Grand Jide, the checkpoint is just crazy, right? And so now, I think this IG, he loves too much, publicity. I think he needs to slow down with that. This thing here, you need to investigate this guy. If you have to reprimand him, you reprimand him. Not everything you just rush to social media and take photos. And first of all, you are the IG. Why are your deputies? Why you have to always be the one in front of the camera? Right? I feel as though much that he may have had a good intention to get his job done, but I think he's overplaying his hand. Right? He quit to speak. He quit to do press conferences. He quit to release information out there, and it is not suiting well for him. The kind of role you're playing as an IG is a very, delicate role. And you cannot just always want to be in front of the camera where you don't have the facts. Like the capital building issue that Mr. Carter mentioned. You spoke too early. We had a fire chief on the closing argument where I also am a panelist. And the way he laid out, the public, the panelists, everybody else that were calling, they were so receptive to the fire chief, presentation, because one, he's an expert, he understands the subject matter, he has the experience, he has everything, work in his favor, right? But they already compromised the scene. The next day we saw lots of people in that building. The president spoke too early. All sort of things going now. They're arresting people they're not supposed to arrest. So what I want to say here is that IG, if you will watch this show, do your X, Y, and Z. Cross all your T's, dot your I's behind the scene. When you have gathered all your evidence and you have made a conclusion, come before the camera. But you just saw the guy in the street with a bag of money, and the next thing you put on top of the car, you taking pictures and out there. I mean, these things are not called for, right? I don't think that how investigation goes in this country. No, people take time, sometimes years, to probe some cases. And when they have gotten all of the evidence and everything, and then they bring it to the public glare, and then people see it, and people they answer questions to go from there. So I just want to, caution the IG to really, take a step back and just consider posting stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Joe, Mr. Tao, Anthony and Dr. Booty are making the point that this IG, he loves the camera. He loves to be, in the media, social media mostly. He has this fire investigation going on at the Capitol building, which I think many people believe he's mishandling. Do you think this recent attempt on his part is intended to divert attention away from his mishandling of the situation at the Capitol building? Or this is just the IG, like Mr. Gay is saying, he just loves the social media? There seems to be, many people believe this is really intentional to take the attention away from what is happening at the Capitol building. What do you think?
Okay. So I'm glad that you came to that, because it's something that was being left out, and I was actually going to point that out. Let me conclude. Let me hypothesize in a way and conclude before I lay out the premise. I want to believe that the whole money thing is staged by the IG. In Liberia, I've been in Liberia. I drove around. Where are these police officers collecting money? There's going to be a whole bag of money and they'll hold it right there in the street. That's one. Two, it just happened to happen in a place that the IG is actually traveling. And the IG that's supposed to be a very professional man had to actually set up cameras to put it on the screen. No, what you see happening here is staged because of this history. The IG that's supposed to come from the US, that's supposed to be so professional, supposed to be this expert, handing people over in the middle of the night to be flown to Guinea. When the court said bring him, they can't bring him. They're arresting people over 3-4 days, violating the rule, torturing them where the people are speaking out, and he's in hot water. So he is trying to mislead the Liberian public that all of a sudden, in spite of all of this stuff, now he's this good guy that is fighting corruption. You think they don't know that there is corruption? You create all the police officers, you're talking about $150. That is not even the point. They don't even pay these people. I know a bunch of people that's in the police. And then you put them in the street. The IG is telling me that he's not aware that all over Monrovia, we're not talking about just Liberia, that checkpoints everywhere. What are they doing at those checkpoints? What are they really looking for? They impede movement at every level. No, you put them in the street so that they can get paid. Because
there is checkpoint at Vamoma.
Yeah,
there is checkpoint in January. What are these checkpoints? What purpose do these checkpoints really serve?
Yeah, there's checkpoint everywhere. What the checkpoint mean is we hire you, put you out there, go and pay yourself. So the IG, they know this. So then what kind of corruption is stopping that there? Stop. No, if you want to stop them taking money from people, remove them off the street. But guess what? They don't even have a mission for these people, for these officers. If you remove them off the street, where are they going to be? They barely have police stations. They don't investigate anything. They don't bring anything to conclusion. So you put them in the street, the sex checkpoint, they're going to pay themselves. But this is staged by the IG. None of the police, the guys don't collect no money that is in a whole bag that they're holding right there in that same place. And then it just happened in the place where the IG is coming in. And then the camera is right there so that he can put it up. My brother, look, man, that IG, he need to go. That is what somebody said here when things first started. President Boakai should have broken rank with this guy, brought in somebody new, They already came in, they had their term for what, 12 years or whatever. There is nothing else that he can really offer. He's causing all kinds of violation. And I will want to call on the union here in the US. Gregory Coleman, then they are from here. They go to Liberia, they violate human right, the very human right that they're protected on it that they talk about, and they think they can just walk back in here, and the union should lobby the US government for these guys to be arrested and for them to be tried.
Point taken. Thank you very much, Mr. Tao. And I hope the IG is listening to the advice here, especially from Mr. Gay as well as Dr. Booty. Then just jump to conclusions.
And as well from me that he should be arrested if he torture people over there and come here. Let them
Point
talk.
Leave it.
Here's my question to you guys. It's the issue with the checkpoint is not something new, and I wanted to inject this piece here. In 2019, I was in Liberia, and that was the first time I experienced that. This was midnight, just leaving from my cousin's house to my house. We got pulled over. There was a checkpoint in the middle of the road. The guys presumably thought there was drugs in the car. Everybody was complying because I thought it was ridiculous, and I was being a little bit resistant. So I said, hey, this is in the city. This is a capital. If you're doing that closer to the border, I will understand. But imagine if there was a foreigner in this car here who has never come across such incident. You would terrorize people. They will probably think there's a heightened level of security incident in this country for which there are checkpoints. And this guy got very, belligerent. Oh, you need to come out of the car. I resisted. I said I will not come out. I gave the same thing Gay did. I took him my driver license. I gave it to him. Matter of fact, I told the guys, open the trunk of the car. They call it the boot. Open the hood. I told him to search everything. He searched it. He did whatever he had to do. He still wanted us to come out. So this is not something new. This is something that's been happening. But I think the level to which you guys are speaking, this is it's increasing on a different level, which for me, as a citizen, we're okay with that. We can go through that. But imagine the tourists that are coming into that country, some of them moving around at night, and they're experiencing that. They will feel that there's a heightened level of security in this country that, hey, maybe there's something that we're not aware of. And when we leave, we don't want to come back here. So those are some of the things that I think that, whoever the IG is need to be paying attention to.
Well, sadly,
can I just go back on that quickly? Because Mr. Carter, one of the reasons that they have these checkpoints is it's been there since like when Unmill and Ecomog and them were around. And one of the reasons they have these, and for me, I'm happy with them. Those are all who grew up and go like, bro, we can't sit down in there. We experience these checkpoints, so we're used to it, right? But they're there to serve as a deterrent, right? So certain criminals, like in most of those major areas, like Famoma, was the old health ministry where they have close to the Capitol building there, those kind of areas, those key areas, they put them there as a way of deterring people, right? So for me, I don't have an issue with it. And those are also who understand the system. Once you get there, you shake the man in hand, you pass.
Okay with it. Right.
You see? That they have more they almost be you for.
No, seriously, I was okay with that. I was okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the upside to that, what Dr. Booty is saying. But the downside is those checkpoints are also designed for people like you and myself who are not the locals. They come in the car and they see who you got in the car. Based on that, they make it very difficult for the driver. The driver will always tell you, Pape or Oman, let me deal with them. Once you open your mouth, they know you're not from here. I know my driver license was taken. We had to get a man $20, which at the time was pretty hefty for the Liberian market. He took the man license and walked away, and he knew we're in the car. We had somewhere to be. We couldn't wait to sit too long. So, the man gave him $20. Yeah. So, there is an upside and a downside, but like you are saying, the IG is fully aware of this. So him coming on social media with plastic bag photo of, Liberian dollars and all of that, it's just fear moment. I agree. I think it's a publicity stunt. But let's move on to the next topic, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your input. Let me inform you, today's show will be slightly abridged. It's not going to be the usual 2 hours because we all got to go and watch the game. So I'm just letting you know that. So you have to keep your interventions very brief and to the point. Thank you very much. So, gentlemen, over the weekend, or during the week leading into the weekend, there's so much that happened. You all know we lost Senator Johnson. May peace be to his ashes. But it was a very controversial issue. We all know that. And like we all say here, he was many things to many people. He was a hero to the people of Nimba. Some people also thought he was a pariah. A lot of people died, under his INPFL watch. And he was ahead of that. So the buck stopped with him. So the various emotions that Liberians are going through, but then again, of course, our politicians are not the people who will lose an opportunity to showcase, in most instances, their stupidity. There were a lot said in Nimba. Thomas Yaya Nimley, former leader of Model, got on stage to say that the senator felt betrayed by the UP-led government. He cooperated with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf because he and Ellen Johnson agreed the war crime court would not be established. He and Weah did the same thing. He and Boakai did the same thing, but Boakai comes into office and proceeds to set up the war crime court. So he felt betrayed by that. Then the MD, our spokesperson, came on to also accentuate the point that Prince Johnson actually died as a result of heartbreak from the betrayal from the government. Then Jeremiah Kuhn, who is considered Prince Johnson's son, the vice president, came out and debunked Yaya and said Prince Johnson did not feel guilty. He didn't feel the need to be forgiving, So all of these conflicting signals. Let's try to, take this apart, unpack this. Let me start with you, Anthony. Give us a little background to your understanding of what happened. And, if you don't mind, jump to your interpretation of how you understand what this is all about.
Yeah, I think Senator Yaya struck a point yesterday that many people overlooked. There's this thing between, Grand Gila County and Nimba County, this rape dating back, prior to, our existence as a county in 1964 and the war situation and today where we are. But the goal for Senator Yaya Nimley was to reach out and say, listen, let's put this thing behind us because we are interrelated, including myself. I was born in Yekepa. I have 2 children, but a lady who mom having to be a Gio woman from Nimba County. My dad also have the same thing, right? So we are interrelated. Today, you go to CVR, one of the biggest gold mines in Grand Gila. Majority of the folks down there who are business people are from Nimba County. You go to Zwerju, businesses today as we speak, business owner, majority of them from Nimba County. Right? So for him, he saw this, and traditionally, when there is a birth of a child, a death of a person, or marriage, right? Or doing a wedding, transitional wedding, is when people iron out situations. So this particular event was not extreme from it was a perfect opportunity for him to strike the tone he struck yesterday, that we should put this behind us, and the elders, the citizens of Nimba County, and the people that came from Grand Gila that were representing Grand Gila there to come together and put a halt to the whole rift, right? We are one people. I mean, our behavior shows the intermarriages and other different things. Like I said, I have a blended family, and I'm from a blended family as well. So this whole situation that people saw as though, oh, Senator Nimley is trying to push against the War Economic Crimes Court. That's not what he said. Can he say War Economic Crimes Court cannot come to Liberia?
But Mr. Gay, let's not forget now, one of the very few who lashed out on the very, day or so when this pronouncement was made by the Boakai government. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he lashed out, and I think declared
because
Prince Johnson.
So let me just let the public know.
Okay.
I served as the communication. I had his communication team for his campaign, for Yaya campaign in 2020. 2023, it was already clear from the preliminary statement that he was going to win.
Okay.
Right. And so we didn't even do any campaign much. And he won by 18,000 votes, the highest vote in the county by any lawmaker, right? And this issue of war and economic crime court came about. And I personally asked him, will you make yourself available if a war economic crime court should be established in Liberia for you to have your day in court? He said, absolutely. Because for me, I support the war economic crime court. And so I made that clear from day one. In order for me to support you, you got to let me know either you for it or you against, so I can make a decision. And he committed that he will actually make himself available. He also signed the resolution that the Senate put on the floor for the War and Economic Crime Court. He did mention that yesterday. What he did say yesterday that many people overlook is that these politicians come and pretend before us that, oh, they are for War and Economic Crime Court, but behind closed door, they are signing a deal just to win the political seat with Prince Johnson. Madam Sally signed and worked a deal with Senator Johnson, and she protected him for 12 years. She never introduced the War and Economic Crime Court. We did similar thing. Boakai also agreed it was part of the reason why Jeremiah Kun was picked. Then after all of those things, he won the presidency. Yet come now, he flipped the switch on Senator Johnson, and Senator Johnson was troubled by it. There are videotapes, there are audio recordings out there already being played on Senator Johnson outburst of this administration. So it is not Senator Yaya who brought about this thing. He only made reference to those things that are already obvious out there. Face the Nation, what's the name? A.B. William on his show played a tape, right, where Senator Johnson expressed his frustration about this administration. Senator Dillon confirmed some of those things, right? How the late senator went to him for his daughter to get a job and all the different things. So it's not Senator Yaya Nimley who is bringing up these things. He only made reference to those things so that the people can know that what these politicians have been doing along this year. In front of the camera, they say one thing. Behind closed door, they are signing a deal not to bring a war economic crime on this man. Here's the beneficiary of this same thing. Boakai is sitting now right here. And one good thing I can tell anybody is when they talk about bravery and the man who has the courage to look in the eye of people and telling the truth, it's Yaya. He's not afraid to do so, right? Senator Yaya Nimley will tell you if he wants to do something, he can be stubborn about it and he will do it. If he doesn't want to do something, he will be clear-cut. He's one person, I like how he operates. He's not if and but. I don't even for or against something.
Thank you, Mr.
He's
Gay.
not in the middle. And that's what I like about him.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Mr. Tao, and Yaya Jammeh is a 70-year-old man. He's not a kid. He's very educated. This man was one time foreign minister of Liberia. So he's very educated. But he is a very, very controversial issue. He's on record for stoking division between Nimba and Grangidians. He's on tape accusing the Nimbayans of not allowing Grangidians to marry the children or whatever it is. And so there are a lot of people who really believe he's flip-flopping. I mean, I read my friend Kaiji Ule, veteran journalist. He's has Grangidian background as well. A lot of people in the Grangidian community believe that Mr. Nimley is unpatriotic. That his statement in Nimba, for instance, and is one of the statements he makes all the time, which is really self-serving. All he's after is himself. We're talking about the larger community here that is aggrieved. There are a lot of people who lost relatives in this, and he's concerned with Boakai breaching agreement between he and Prince Johnson, and he's coming to take the stage. First of all, how did he even get on stage at this program? Mr. Tower, please have your say.
So look at what happened here. You just made a point, and that is the point I was trying to make. What are people that from Nimba or Grand Jide? They try to reduce the entire country to just those two counties.
Exactly. There's a dichotomy of Nimba.
This is something that affected and destroyed the entire country. And they want to reduce it to that there should be some kind of deal and intermarriage between the two countries, and they put it behind them. Who told you that's how it works? It don't work that way. These guys came in, whether the intentions were good or bad, the outcome is what we can really look at. It destroyed the country. So it doesn't matter who signed what deal with who. Ellen could not have signed any deal with Prince that had any real teeth, because Ellen herself is the mother behind the thing. So if people claim that she was protecting Prince Johnson, then she was just protecting herself also. Okay, so probably it's only Weah, who probably was like an outsider with respect to this to some extent, could have said that, you know what, he should have done something, but we shouldn't reduce this stuff to just some Nimba and Granjida coming to some kind of agreement, and then once they do that, then they sweep it behind them, then the rest of the country order the crimes that was committed, and everybody just walk around. But look at what happened here. There is no betrayal here. If people were betrayed, it's the Liberian people and not no Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson betrayed how? So look, man, let us be honest with ourselves. From day one, I knew that the War on Economic Crimes Court inception was actually lopsided. It's never really going to happen. Because for the simple fact, I asked this question on the very first day. How are they going to do this? The major people that actually was involved in this war, they are in government. Their laws and stuff and their things that are supposed to be passed, policies have to go through the government. Are these people going to pass these policies to have themselves dethroned? Like you asking Yaya that hey, you submit yourself. Are you going to submit yourself? Then I will vote for you, or I will work for you, and all of this stuff. So he said yes, right. But these are, what does that mean? So the same people, no, if they wanted to do a war in economic crime court, it should have been done right in the beginning. And what that was going to do was they were going to rule out Ellen. But because Ellen needed to come to power, so what happened? They deferred it. Then the moment she leave power, so it will never happen. This thing is going to be used. But look, let me mention something about Prince Johnson. At least he had a funeral. And his people are going to be around and they're going to go bury him. He was directly and indirectly responsible for the death of a lot of people that don't even have grave, that they don't even know where they are. And I will conclude with this. You know, a lot of people don't know Prince. I grew up in the place where Prince Johnson was a stone throw away from me, living with his uncle. Prince Johnson have been a thug since he was a young man. He almost killed my sister. He was in that neighborhood harassing every young woman that he wanted if they don't want him. And because he called her, I will put this on record, and she refused to come to him. That time during the 1983 or so, or 82, he pulled out his bent knife on the edge of a gun and he tried to stab her in the chest. And somebody intervened, barely missed her. And she still have that mark on her left breast. So this is the Prince that you saw later. So the Prince you saw later he just magnified what he was doing when he was a young man. You guys were laws unto themselves. So please, but look, if we want for us to be united as a country and for to move in one direction, don't reduce this stuff to grant you the Nimba that they should go and sit somewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Tower. Thank you very much.
Then once they had an agreement, then the rest of the country, they're okay with whatever went on in the war. No.
Thank you. Dr. Budi, you have the last say on this, but let me come to Gabe. Gabe, and our brother Anthony here wrote in the chat room, and I think I agree with most of what he said. This was another outing of our politicians in the backroom deal makings. Ellen Johnson made a deal with Prince Johnson. George Weah made a deal with Prince Johnson. Boakai made a deal with Prince Johnson. And every time everybody is playing, at Prince Johnson's beck and call. What do you make of what happened in Nimba? And Yaya Nimley's comments.
So there's 2 points I want to make, and I'll be very quick. 2, I think I agree with Mr. Towell. At the end of the day, with all those deals that were being struck, I think, the people who lost here were the Liberian people. Prince, one thing that I think that satisfied me the most when I heard from Senator Nimley's speech was the fact that he was begging to buy time, if that is even true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the projection that we saw of this man, regardless of whatever heroic persona he puts out there, was this, heroic individual who came and saved the people. But in actuality, he was afraid behind closed door. So when I heard that this was somebody who was literally begging politician, oh, I will do this for you if you can buy me time. I would do this for
Right.
you if you can buy me time. I think it appeased my soul a little bit because
Yeah.
given what he's done to Liberian people, to know that he was living in peace among them, you know, was something that I don't think everybody could accept. So to
Yeah.
understand that, to accept that, to listen to that, to say, this is someone who was begging for time, buying time, with this politician, you know, I think it brought a little bit of a excitement to us, right?
Congratulations. And I
He,
think Yaya Nimley is feeling the same thing. I think he's afraid,
right,
and he's using Prince Johnson, to take the our people say, he's using Prince Johnson hand to take the hot partner from the fire. He knows the same thing awaits him. He was a rebel leader. Take it
yeah.
or leave it. Yeah,
So
he was here in Philadelphia. He was doing well, but he went to liberate the people of Nimba. I mean, the people of Grand Judah, quote unquote. Did he come back to Philadelphia? No, he was a foreign minister. He's not a senator.
yeah,
He's still enjoying the trappings of his war that he waged against our people.
which
So he shouldn't tell anybody here he's a liberator.
which leads me to my second point. My second point is that in as much, and Mr. Gay, I agree with you. I think the whole tribal divide between the Grand Judean and the people of Nima, it's not something that's supposed to exist within our country. So the fact that he's using that platform to trying to, whether it was intentional or he trying to make it perceive as if it was, I commend him on that. But I think what he was also doing as well is, like Mr. Nangwe said here, he was, trying to cover himself, save himself, buy some grace. And the statement that I think he made that a lot of people overlooked was, I think, kind of was a subliminal kind of threat that he promised Prince Johnson all the time when Prince Johnson calls him, as he was said, if anybody touch you, that means they touch all of us, right? If someone, he kept repeating that. If they touch you, they touch all of us.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. The War Crime Court was established. Indirectly, that is on it, that touched Prince Johnson. What people didn't understand was that what is Nimless going to do now? Because with the War Crime Court being established, regardless of whatever he's trying to preach, whatever unity he's trying to bring between the people of Nimba and Grand Jiren, he's still a war criminal. He's still somebody who murdered people, and he's still off the hook. So if this thing goes to court and push come to shove, he will still be held liable for that. And regardless of the other 120 people I think he mentioned who are ex-combatant who was there, he is not speaking for all of those people. I think he was just speaking for himself. And that's the sad thing about the whole speech that he made. But the only thing I commend him on is trying to bridge that unity between the Grand Jiren and the people of Nimba, because I don't think that's a discourse that should exist. Where I think I see all of us as all Liberian, regardless of the kind of politic divide that people kind of put out there. But besides those 2 points, I think regardless of whether he is the person bringing the message or not, he still needs to be held accountable for it. So I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Dr. Booty. I mean, you have a southeastern connection, and you have a little bit of Nimba in you as well. Let's hear what what you're hearing as you straddle these two regions of our country. What are you hearing about what happened over the weekend in Nimba? The MDRO kind of came in to in a way affirm what Yaya Nimley said, that Prince Johnson was very troubled by this whole war crimes court thing, as Gabriel just alluded to. But the vice president, who I think was probably the closest of all the people who were on that stage to the former senator, he came out and debunked all of this. He said it's not true. The senator was a hero. He was never afraid. He didn't feel guilty, whatever it was. He knew he did it right by his people. Well, what are you hearing?
Well, there are a few things I need to address, right? I think, first of all, this whole situation that Mr. Tao is trying to push that old Nimba and Grandjida believe that they should be taken seriously and that's not the case, right? If Mr. Tao can spend some time and understand Liberian history, Nimba and Grandjida were thrust into the limelight in 1980 when some of their sons were part of the 17 men. We had some cool people there as well from the southeast who were all part of that. But unfortunately, the two main men, one was from Nimba, one was from Grand Jide County. There was a disagreement, right, between the two main men, which brought it and obviously Doe, and some of his cronies took it a bit too far, right, and made it more tribal than they needed to make it. My understanding of the history of Liberia when it comes to the Nimba and Grandjide, these people have been interconnected for years, right? It was because of this disagreement between Do and Kwangwa that kind of amplified this difference between the two counties, right? Obviously, Nimbayan went into exile. They decided we're coming back. The king, they killed the Crampo get vessel. We can't kill you again. So, yes. And on top of that, there's a political aspect to the history as well, Mr. Tower, right? Nimba County is the second vote-rich county in Liberia, right? Which is why it has been significant for multiple elections. 2011, Ellen needed Nimba County to win. 2017, George Weah needed Nimba County to win. 2023, Joseph Boakai needed Nimba County to win. Hence, they're always in the limelight because of the history. It has nothing to do with the people of these counties thinking that they're better or they should be the only Liberians that we should talk about. Most Nimbayans and most Grangians will tell you they don't like what Prince Johnson did on their behalf. They don't like what Doe did on their behalf or how it thrust them into this limelight and make them people kind of demonize them for being a certain. Most people from these countries don't really like that, right? So don't make it like, oh, people from Nimba and people from Grandjide won't be the only people to hear about in Liberia. So anyway, we've dealt with that bit. Look, I agree 100% with Mr. Carter. I think the Honorable Senator Nimley is trying to cover himself. I am against, and I've written, I think when President Boakai first came out with this whole nonsense of a war and economic crimes court, I wrote a piece in the front page Africa and said, look, we shouldn't, right? And I pointed very clearly to some of the quotes from the the counselor who led the TRC. Look, they think we had an opportunity in 2003, right? When we went to Accra, we had an opportunity to decide then that the way we want to end our war is to have a war in economic crime court. We chose truth and reconciliation. You cannot choose one thing. Everybody agree again, whether you like it or not. Everybody agreed. Mr. Senator Nimba, Senator Johnson, Senator whoever agreed to lay down their arm because there was only going to be truth and reconciliation. These guys have come out and incriminated themselves, right? To some extent, they can't tell the whole story because they know nobody can prosecute them. And then it's almost like the Bill Cosby situation in America. The person, if you finish striking a deal with this man, he not tell you all the dirty secret, and he say, we're coming to use this in secret to punish you now. That's just a lot of nonsense. On top of that, Alhaji Kroma has died. Roosevelt Johnson has died. Charles Taylor is in prison. Where will their own victims get their own justice from? Right? So you're going to bring Prince Johnson victims then to get justice. Then what about us who Alhaji Kroma case on our people? Or what about us who Roosevelt Johnson case on our people? So at the end of the day, if justice like I think it's MLJ that said this, Martin Luther King, MLK that said this, look, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. So if Mr. Tower will get justice because Prince Johnson go to jail, and I don't get justice because Alhaji Kroma died, then it's injustice. So let's just leave it. Let's reconcile. Let's build our country and move forward. Last thing I'll say, quoting the counselor, he said, anytime America put their hand in Liberia business, it can chakla it. We're passing around the feed, there were no war crime court. America jump and say, oh, you need to have war crime court. Boakai say, yeah, we come and have war crime court. We can't keep dancing to the tunes of the Americans, right? Nobody was running around a war crime court until they were move from here and go to Liberia. Say, oh, Liberia needs a war crime court, and then Boakai follow suit. The irony is, look, Senator Johnson, and obviously I know members of his family personally, and this is not me trying to poke fun at the late senator. The irony is, of all of the things that could have killed him, is worrying after being betrayed by Joseph Boakai. Can you imagine? Rusty old race car that they won't kill you. All the bullet then, all the people then I wanted to kill, you rusted old race car. That he changed his mind on you, and that's the irony here. And people need, every Liberian need to sit and think, when you're doing yama yama to your friend, and think the way you might go might not align with some of the horrible things you've done, right?
Yep.
Because most people here would have wanted him to go a different way, but are worrying. And like Mr. Carter said, unfortunately, it seems like Senator Nimley is in the same boat right now. He's now the limelight is not on Prince anymore.
He's the next.
It's almost like he's saying that
next.
thing. I could have called a Prince to it instead of being left behind because it made it coming dead to me now. The way
I will pay the price for all these people who have left.
that is second, if I may.
No, Anthony, I was going to bring you in to close out, but as you're closing out, thank you very much for your contributions. I want you to talk to me as you're closing out. Why was Mr. Cummings not at this program? A lot of us feel that was a missed opportunity. Free press, all the people of consequence were in Nimba. Why was he not there?
That's funny. I thought he was there. I thought almost everybody was down there.
I thought he was there as well.
Yeah, me too. I just found it out, so I can't make any statement on that. I just found it out. I don't know what he was.
I agree with you, Mr. K.
Yeah. So I thought he was there. This is
missed
breaking
opportunity.
News to me on the show.
Free press. All of Liberia was focused.
So yeah, this is a breaking news to me. I don't know. Probably you're not in the country, or I don't know.
He had to come back into the country.
He had to. But anyway, go ahead.
Thank you.
I can't make a statement on that.
I didn't need to put you on the spot. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's what I have to say to Senator Nimley statement and what other people are saying. Yeah, I know we could call people warlord. He's a warlord. Let's put into context here. Taylor, Prince Johnson, the rest of the other people invaded Liberia. All these years, the war ended. They went to election. Taylor won by 60% and people went back to Liberia businesses. Even up to this date, some people still say, oh, during Taylor time, even though the country was still under sanction, but money was flowing in the country, they can still say
money was flowing. We're there. Money was flowing.
So at that time, we had a sitting president. 14 counties, people went back to those counties, except Grand Gila County. People went back, but in their own county, they were tormented in their own county. They could not move freely in their own county. Yaya was not even part of none of these things. Yaya was running his business here in the United States, working as a psychiatrist, as a program director in a psychiatric hospital. Never participated in all of the war that happened at that time. Not a military person. But many Grand Gileans were stuck in refugee camp, including myself at that time. I was staying in refugee camp and other people until people were fed up with the way Taylor was tormenting the people in Grand Gilead. And the call came, and Yaya rose up to the occasion and said, I'm going to champion this cause. And people were like, you're not military man? He said, yeah, I know. But there's something in me that when you wake up, it can be more than a military man. And people just laugh about it. And people who were in the meeting that time, like, they were all surprised. He said, I'm selling my house and I'm going. And he went back to Liberia. And they did what they had to do, and Grand Gila County is free, and the peace accord was signed, and he became foreign minister. He can go to the war crime court, but both went to the head and walk away from the head. Going to the war crime court does not mean a guilty verdict. One thing I can tell anybody, he's willing to face that court.
Yeah, but Mr. J, I know I'll give you the time. I'll give you the time to finish. But I'm saying to you, Mr. Nimley's attitude and comments convey the attitude and comments of someone who's feeling guilty. You know, his reaction is not someone who is impatient to exonerate himself. What he's trying to do is to stoke fear and intimidate people so that we walk away from prosecuting war criminals who most right now are still acting on the stage in Liberia from the loot that they got from pillaging, our people's villages and killing people. Yaya Jammeh, whatever he was, I understand what you're saying. He was in Philadelphia. He was a professional president, but he went there and fought. He wouldn't have become foreign minister. He was foreign minister. You can't tell me if he was foreign minister because he was a psychiatrist in Philadelphia. He went and killed people or presided over a rebel faction that killed people, and that's how he came into prominence and became foreign minister. Based on that, the loot he got, he was able to campaign and win the most vote in Grand
And
Jide.
another thing
He had the money.
Throughout Elin 12 years as a president, he was arrested 6 times. Elin sent people to arrest him because, quote unquote, he got people to his village planning to overthrow her. 6 times he was arrested by President Salih, right? With all of that, Yaya didn't do anything. He relaxed to his village, relaxed everything, didn't bother nobody because Yaya's ultimate goal was for Grand Jide people to come back to Grand Jide. That goal was accomplished. Whatever Elin was doing here, the lady will get tired and her time will be expired. She will find a place to sit down. He never retaliated, right? So, if the court comes today, he will go to court. If the court doesn't come, he will benefit just as the other people, and he's old too. And time will come what it's up. But yeah, that's why I want to tell people here, right? I am not defending him to say, oh, you cannot go to the war crime court, and Yaya cannot stop the war and economic crime court from coming to Liberia. It is to be established. All right, they already signed document for it. One thing people don't know about this man, that man is a very brave man who can stand and say what he wants to say at any given time if he decides to do something, right? All I can tell, like,
you said the same thing about Prince Johnson, but he was crying.
Yaya and Prince Johnson are two different kind of people.
You know.
So Prince Johnson is a military man. Yaya is not a military man. What I can say here is that Yaya played his part what he wanted to do. If it's the war crime court comes today, we encourage him to go. I personally want the war economic crime court to come to Liberia because I think impunity is not the way to go. Because the way we're doing it, it's not helping anyone, right? That the booty that you said, they agreed to reconciliation, truth and reconciliation. They changed it along the way, and where we are today.
Thank you,
they don't
again.
want to end this thing, and we are going in circle. When do we end this thing?
Thank you,
Is it
Anthony.
going into circle and they point the finger to here and there? We are having this friction among ourselves each and every day. It's not helping anybody here.
Ended until that American woman went to Liberia. We were done with it.
But
Yeah,
this is where I disagree with both of you, though.
I will give Mr.
think
Tao.
this
I'll give
is-
Mr. Tao 30 seconds, and then we'll bring in the last topic.
Yeah. So look, I want to
30
clarify
seconds.
something because Dr. Booty misrepresented what I said.
No, I didn't.
No. Listen, I never ever said that the people of Nimba and Grand Jide feel that they are more important. Go back and pull the clip.
It's
and play
okay.
it.
Is that
That
not
is
what
not
he
what I
said?
said. No, what I said was the people of Nimba and Grand Jide, which is the representative that are speaking, can just say that they both of them can have some kind of reconciliation. Then it's okay for the whole country.
No, that's not true, Mr. Tao. That's not what he
That
said.
is what I said here.
All right, gentlemen. All right, gentlemen.
But,
I
but I
wanna
want to
thank you.
clarify that. No, let me clarify that. So
You had 30
you
seconds.
can't
Now
just
you
be
use
that
about
they
45
just
seconds.
go and agree and then it's okay.
No, but
they
that's
can have
not
their
what
own
you said.
reconciliation. But don't take
Yeah,
away from what affected the entire country.
You
That is what I said.
basically said that they want to be a law unto themselves, right?
No,
that's
I-
what you were basically
I-
saying. Or
no,
you
I
know,
never
that
even
the
used that
Nimba
word.
country and Grand Jide, their feet, that
People
everything
that are
about them.
listening, people that are listening will call you. I never even used the word law unto
Let them
themselves.
call me. Let them call me. I'll send them a number to
never
call me.
used
I
that.
know what I heard. I know what I
never
heard.
used that.
No, I know what I heard.
So, gentlemen, thank you very much. I agree. The civil war that happened in Liberia was not only about Nimba and Grand Jide. There are a lot of us in between who usually are left out in this configuration. But we're going to move on to the next topic, which is the House of Representatives, or the dishonorable House. After months of forcing and fighting and burning down the Capitol, the minority group has gone into session under the gavel of Richard Henry Coon, Nimba Coon. Many believe that this is a Trojan horse, that there is something afoot. Let's see if we can unpack this. Starting with you, Gabriel. What do you think? I mean, Musa Belete as now the head of the minority group. You know, Kofa is now, in the background, although he's still fighting the battle. But Musa is now the face of the Rule of Law Caucus. What's your reading on this?
So I think we've discussed this here probably several times already, and I think this was a mess from the beginning, meaning the way the speaker was removed. Um, and without even trying to speculate, I think there was a lot of people behind it, you know, such as the president. But I think this, from the beginning, this was a mistake on the part of CDC, right? This was your guy. This was your speaker. You know, despite whatever disagreement you have with him, you know, all of a sudden you want him removed, and the opposition saw that. The opposition, meaning Unity Party, saw that as an opportunity to remove someone who was not a Unity Party person, right? And halfway through that, they realized that, okay, if we remove this guy who is a you know, sedition, you know, it gives the Unity Party an easy way for them to appoint a speaker who is a United Party person. That's when they ended the backtrack, right? But what I'm trying to say here is that the method in which they went about trying to remove him, you know, was messy. You know, I mean, you can go back to him too. The way he got into the speakership was a problem. You know, and the point that I'm trying to make here is that, as I always said, democracy is messy. There's no democracy that is, you know, just where there's law and order. There will always be a people, a group who will test your system. They will test it, they will push it to the pivot, to the cliff. But that pushing allows you, if in a right society, to build, to amend your laws, your constitution, to perfect it, you know. But this is why we didn't see in the whole Supreme Court. I know they're trying to intervene to an extent, but I didn't think they did the right thing in terms of the ruling that they render. So for me, I think this was a mess from the beginning. Regardless of who is the speaker right now, I think it's Kuhn. Someone will emerge from that, who might do the same thing he did to the speaker, Kofa. If that process is not amended, they will do the same thing to trying to remove him as well. So it kind of baffles me to a point that for a country that is just 21 years out of war, whose democracy is supposed to be, you know, young, again, a rebirth, something perfected, that the older democracy now, like the country that are 60 years old, can look at and say, these guys are coming up with new way to look at democracy, to run a country. Yet we seem like an archaic, outdated group of people who cannot even have a functioning democracy. So for me, that's what I make of this. And I think this is not the end. This will continue until somebody somewhere, either at the Supreme Court, you know, fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Mr. Gay, the people communicating with us in the chat here, they say you have ulterior motives. You're planning to run for 2029. But anyway,
No, but it's not hidden. So this is not a hidden secret. The FOR team is aware. I was selected to represent the CPP in Grand Jury 2023. I withdrew my intention prior to the registration, so I did not run. And part of that reason was I knew then Sen Yaya would won, and the number was just favorable.
Wait, so are you telling me you didn't run because you had a grant on to Yaya Nimley, or what is it? I mean, really, why didn't you run? Because
I did not run for other personal reason, but I also knew that my calculation told me that it was not a good thing to get in that race, because it was just going to be a waste of resources.
I think that was smart. That was smart.
Yeah, and I did not run. And plus, I had a communication team of then Sen Yaya in 2020, and so it was obvious we lost those open for just by 2,000 votes, right? And we knew after our postmortem, we knew what we first showed, and it was already, you know, obvious that if Yaya got in the race, the reason why I even put my knee out there, because Yaya said he wasn't going to run.
Okay.
I think he was assessing, the thing to know if you're gonna, because he had ran like 2 times. This is what the 3rd time running. So but when he realized that yes, this is the opportunity, I pulled out of the race because this is somebody who I supported. Everybody knew I supported him. Wow, we're going to say against him and all of that different things. So I
No,
thought it
I
was,
understand. I understand he's very popular in
yeah, he's very
Namibia.
popular.
I mean, a lot
And
of
guess what? He won by 18,000 votes, the highest vote of any lawmaker I've ever won with.
My brother, you not tell us 18,000 plenty time. Bring it to the House of Representatives now. Yeah, in the Senate. Yeah.
Well, but I don't want to be a representative. I want to be a senator.
No, we
So
talk about running. Be there, Ronnie Bennett. What
All
18
right.
are checking in the House? That the one
All
we
right.
He
talking
said,
about.
bring it to the House of Representatives.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So for me, the minority black, going back to section with the rest of the other team, I think it's a political calculation, in my opinion. One, they are 28, including Speaker Kofa will be 29. In the process of doing so, they can lobby, network, and get that number. They can also filibuster. They can also use, I think I heard they went to a lower court, which would then end up going back to the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court have been running away from, these guys have found a way now for the Supreme Court to not run away, right?
Yeah.
They went back to the lower court, and whatever the lower court will say, it might end up back to the Supreme Court. And I think at this present moment, the Supreme Court will not rule the way they rule. And by them going back to the House, doing the librarian people work, where this meeting our other colleague, the colleague that now will not be in hotel, I think that can, loosen the tension a little bit, wherein they will be able to network and talk to their colleague. Because I think part of the reason why they could not do that resolution on the floor, deliberate on it, and because other folks within the majority black could not look in the eyes of Kofa. Even Kofa himself said, he said, I guarantee if these guys come to deliberate, many of them would change their mind not to vote against me, right? And that's what they're running away from. So by then going back, even though I felt disappointed in the process, but we can't hold the librarian people hostage. We can start the process or true. Even though the majority black did not have the 49 to remove them, they themselves also don't have the required number to form a quorum. So we cannot be in this stalemate forever, right?
Right.
We got to start from somewhere.
Thank you, again, Dr. Booty. I mean, I'm still trying to understand, and don't get me wrong. Musa Belete, he was my chairman of the CPP. He's a strategist. It is very difficult for him to miscalculate, so I respect him for that. But what is it? What is it that they think they are going to achieve? They don't have the majority. They're 28, like Mr. Gay mentioned. They're never going to halt any particular movement of any bill. What exactly do you think they hope to achieve here by coming under the gavel of the 42?
Thank you. Let me just address something quickly that my brother, Mr. Carter, said. So just the second part of Article 49 of our Constitution says the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and other officers so elected may be removed from office for cause by resolution of a 2/3 majority of the House. So 49 people had to vote to remove Fonati Kofa. So any action that was done is illegal. I know you were being very diplomatic, sounding like a politician, talking about, they pushed the envelope to the wire, and they didn't push it, they break it. Everything they're doing there, like the Supreme Court says, is ultra virus, right? So basically, it's illegal. The problem we have, and I'm happy that you touched on it as well, is that because these guys have the support of some invisible higher hands behind them, there was no way. I've got an uncle of mine who's in Liberia that supports the Unity Party government, and we were having a conversation the other day, and I've said to him, look, I said, this your guy is very lawless. Oh, what do you mean lawless? I said, well, I'm scared to say it, but you want to even think that he's more lawless than George Weah. Well, what do you mean? So I gave him the examples. I gave him an example of LTA. I gave him an example of the central bank. He disagreed. So I said, I'll send you the Central Bank Act 2020. Only the legislature can remove. Even if the person steal money, you can't remove the governor. The president has no power. But this president suspended the governor and put a countryman there to run the bank. Someone who I know very well, I worked with before. That's not the issue. So at the end of the day, you are right, Mr. Carter. It's because of the hands that are behind the scene. Look, these guys had one option. Mr. Nangwe, I know he might laugh later on, but he did say this a few weeks ago that he believed that, look, it was time for Kofa to throw in the towel. I said no.
No, I'm laughing already. I'm laughing already.
I'll tell my sister, I'll tell my Nimba sister to get you water to drink. At the end of the day,
and I'm drinking my water too.
She gave you first one. At the end of the day, look, the way it's ended, I'm happy with the way it ended, because at the end of the day, those of us who believe in law and the rule of law know what was wrong and what is wrong. The fact that they've come in is because, like Mr. Gay is pointing out, what else can they do? They cannot tell these 43, you're a thug, you're hoolums, you're wasting Labrampo money, and then they decide to go do the same thing they're doing by staying away. You can't do that. Unfortunately, as it is, that cone has been imposed on them illegally, they have the choice. Should we keep pushing the legal battle and stay out, or keep pushing the legal battle and come in and do the people's work? And let us look responsible. Let the world look at us and say, yeah, these 20-something guys are the real representatives here. These other 43 are a bunch of thugs. So when the president went, I was about to call him vice president. When the president went to this legislature the other day and said, oh, hoodlums and thugs, he was talking to the 43. He didn't know, he didn't think he was, but he was. Because the international community, every well-meaning Liberian that has a little bit of common sense can see there are only one group here that is a thug, or a group of thugs, and that is the 43. Because like I said to my uncle, look, uncle, if these guys had the 2/3 majority vote, they would have called a session. They would have gone and sat on a Kofa. They would have let him knock the gavel, then they vote him out. But they could not get to 49. So that's why they decided to hijack a stage of coup, right? Supported by the executive, right? With also the implicit, I'm not going to say the implicit support of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court had an opportunity to be forceful in their ruling to say, look, this is illegal. Any act that this group does should not. That can't go bring ultra. Most of our Canadians speak Liberian English good enough. That Latin you go bring for all to understand where we come from to understand Latin, right? They could have been forceful in the result, and not only that, but if the Supreme Court wanted to do what's right for the Liberian people, when the useless Justice Minister came out and started to misinterpret their thing, they should have held him in contempt of court, put him in jail. Then the other 43 will say, oh, whoa, okay, we got to be careful here. We got to listen to what the Supreme Court is saying, because anyone then, because the Supreme Court has that power. Let the president and the executive refuse to do what is. If the Supreme Court say arrest that man for misinterpreting what we said, and the executive said no, then we know we have a constitutional crisis. Then we know, then the international community will have no choice but to say, look, my man, no, you can't do this. Unfortunately, this is where we are. And the irony of it is, just in 2023, Mr. Nangwe, you, myself, all of us here, and the international community were for Liberia. Wow, peaceful transfer of power. Incumbent saying that, yeah, I lost the election. Whoa, Liberia is a beacon of hope. In less than a year later, the same group now are laughing at us. We talk too soon. The white chicken and goat getting raped.
Thank you, Dr. Budi. And thank you for acknowledging what I was saying. I mean, I just felt, that we were not going to, but hopefully we'll break the impasse. But Mr. Chao, at this thing at the House of Representatives, the reverberations are still being felt throughout the government. I mean, in Nimba, I understand the former president, we are refused to recognize Richard Kuhn. Then the current president himself refused to recognize the former president. And this is like little kids, but except that it has real life consequences. There are people who are really, really suffering because of this foolishness that's going on. And this president, for whatever reason, does not understand that he is really directly perpetuating this foolishness. And people are actually suffering. And people will die because of this nonsense. This chaos that's going on in the government is very, very easy fix, very simple matter, but we have so complicated it. And it doesn't seem to be coming to an end soon. What do you think?
Okay. So before I speak to that, in the first place, I don't think Cummings missed because any kind of opportunity, Cummings don't have to be at the funeral of a warlord. He doesn't. I don't think it's of any importance. The same people that want to gather over the what is he going to do there? Buy vote there, or he can still meet those people. So I think that is just trying to dignify somebody that is not relevant in terms of his relevance. Is it lies somewhere else? Let him deal with it there. So yeah. So I just want to put that out there. But
okay.
look,
We take that point. We'll eat it.
You shouldn't get against Nimba people will deal with you. Let me tell you now.
But when it comes to the House, I don't know where the rule of law and rule of law group keep coming from. I keep hearing this thrown around when they're referring to the House or to the Liberian government. None of them are any law abiding. A group of people that can sit down and hijack almost 40% of the country's budget and loot it legally. There is nothing that is law abiding about them. The way in which, because remember when the thing started, I said, look, COFA was done right in the beginning of Dr. Boudin article. I'm like, it's never going to work. Yeah, we are looking at what all of this stuff said, but they themselves, COFA themselves, they don't function that way. The thing is about who have the most money. COFA was going broke. That is why you saw people leaving him. You're not feeding them. Boakai government, the UP, have the coffers, the national coffers. It's just like in this country, when you have a law against the federal government, you are toast. Because no matter how much money you have, you cannot outspend them. They can outspend you. So apparently, maybe we hadn't tried to come here. Look, oh, my little money then that I took, I shouldn't try. It's not till 2029. COFA himself probably lost a lot of money trying to fight. And this is the game that they all play. My problem that I have, well, I didn't even care about the legality. You end up fighting for the criminal when you try to play, because a bunch of criminals are in power. They operate against the people. Without the law, violate the law. Then the moment they cross each other, they run to you and say, look at the law. You see the law right here? So in your good interest of trying to fight for the law, you end up fighting for them. For me, from the beginning, that was my problem. So I didn't even care. So with the whole COFA stuff. But look, I knew that it was done. I knew that he couldn't outspend the government. I knew that they're all money hungry. They were going to keep giving them money until he was going to keep losing people. At the end of the day, what happened? They gone back. They sit on everything else that they're talking about just to save face, to say that there's some kind of legal people that they will be there. They're all going to fall in line. Just like Gabriel said, at some point when kind of Kuhn doesn't suit something, somebody else has a better deal.
Somebody's
They
going
will
to do the same
thing, and they will just repeat. And that's just it. That is what we are going to see. Look, these guys, we need to find a way for us to overhaul the governing system that we have. We need to find a way for us to look at the laws that govern this country. A legislature that actually decide their own salaries, their own benefits, their own everything, that they will wait 5 minutes before they pass a bill. They say, oh, no, we have to go for recess. Then they leave, then they call them back. Oh, we can't come to you. Give for 30,000 for the job that they're already paying you for. And they have to give it to them. Something has to change. Yes, we know that the individual can be corrupt. That is not even a point. But if the system is so flawed that it's just kind of breed and support that, we have to look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Tao.
Can I say something? Can I say something for 10 seconds?
Dr. Budi, wait more, please. Right now, me join
no, just 10 seconds, please, before you go out. Mr. Tao, thank you for finally.
The eagle flying high right now.
I want to say that my eagles are flying right now.
Mr. Tao, thank you for finally presenting something fair. You're saying, yes, you've acknowledged that the individuals in the system can be the issue, but that the system is flawed. Now I can accept that.
Yes.
So you hadn't.
I said the system will not work.
When some of us were making the argument, and don't get me wrong, to the extent that we're calling the 28 the Rule of Law Caucus, it doesn't mean that they are the model citizen or whatever, but that is a group that support removing the speaker according to what the law says, period. Whatever their past lives are before they came into this, that's not of interest to us. Then we also said the way things were going, with the way the government was acting with all of these signals, even some of them were no more tacit, they were very, very overt. We knew we're not going to get anywhere. We thought the speaker had made a point. He needed to call a press conference and declare victory and move on, But here we are. But ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we almost made time. We have 10 minutes on the clock. So I would like you to go around because we have time. I'll give you 2 minutes each. You can either talk to us about the IG stunt on social media. You can talk to us about what happened in Nimba with Yaya Nimley and the VP Kun and MDRO and all the other, protocol. One person recognizing, the other person not recognizing. Or you can talk to us about the House of Representatives. Or you can talk about all three. Starting with Mr. Or you can talk about the Eagles if you want.
Or you can talk about anything going forward.
So
I hear people are writing the same, Mr. Cummings, when I miss opportunity, I get it. Look, Cummings gave Prince Johnson $50,000 before. They already had it. They already been dealing. Was that right or not? That's politics. So I think staying away, personally, I believe all of Liberia they were in Nimba there, they were all in the glare of the media. All of Liberia were paying attention to me. I think he would have been present, but that's just me. Mr. Gay, your closing, please.
Yeah, it was a good show. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for joining us today. I also follow your show on every Friday on the economic stuff as well. You guys are doing a phenomenal job over there. Listen, I want to speak to the Liberian people. Everything aside, we're seeing this administration and everything else this administration have come up with. We saw recently on the 15th, they released their own policy for their arrest agenda, and that policy is heavily, dependent upon donor funding, and also we in the diaspora, our remittances to Liberia. I didn't see any aggressive approach to investing into agricultural, manufacturing, and all of them. I didn't see nothing like that, and I was disappointed. When the Ivory Coast, our neighbor, 2025 national budget is sits around 25.1 billion United States dollars. In 2023, they have a 17.9 billion, and they went from 17 to 29. It's 25 billion, my people. These people all share the same climate type, the same weather condition, the same everything. Our neighbors, the Ivory Coast, right? Matter of fact, Liberia possesses up to 46% of the rainforest in the entire West Africa. The forest stuff that we have in Liberia can be compared to that of the Amazon in Brazil, my people. What are we doing? Our staple food, we are not even investing into agriculture. None of the biggest economy in West Africa, let's look at the West African nations, the Nigeria, the Ghana, and the rest of the other countries. Their economy is based on agriculture and other factors. Nigeria cannot go without agriculture. Nigeria produces the higher amount of cassava, right? I mean, the list goes on other things. But Liberia, your staple food, you are not investing into it. And this administration launched a program in August, September, if I'm not mistaken, at the ministerial complex, that by 2029, Liberia will reduce rice import by 70%. I scratched my head right away. It is not feasible. I'm not an economist, but it is just not feasible. And Mr. Carter, you can back me on that. You're the economic guru or finance guru in there, right?
Don't worry, Jerome Gamer is already doing the research.
So that in itself doesn't make no sense. You have no infrastructure for macadamia farming in Liberia. We have the land, yes. We have the water land, with dry land, all that different thing. Swamp rice can grow in Liberia. That busawa that we all call busawa, what people call 10 cup of rice, or the real American parboiled rice is growing in the swamp. And we have the swamp in Liberia, right? It's growing in the swamp. It's polished for it to turn that way, all of that. I know the processing, all of that stuff, because I researched it. But I can tell you for a fact, the reason why I'm excited today, let me break this news. I'm a die-hard fan of the ANC, and we have managed to have one diaspora group, and the ANC going to be very aggressive beginning this 2025, 2026, and 2027. We are the alternative of Liberia problem today. And we're going to do everything we can to earn the trust, the respect of the Liberian people, so that It will not be a binary choice any longer. If it's not UP, it's CDC, or CDC, UP, no.
We
You have a
wait
third option here.
We can't wait to see. Thank you, Mr. Gay.
And that will be our
Thank
way
you.
going forward.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tao, your closing, please.
Yeah. I said it again. I don't think Cummings missed anything by not going over there. Look, it doesn't matter which political party that is in that country. People want to mention Ghana or Africa or Nigeria as if it is that these people are doing any better. No, they are not. Look, until African, you mentioned rainforest and all of this stuff. The wealth of our people is not in their land; it's in their mind.
Mr. Tao, do you really mean that Nigeria, Ghana, these people are not doing better? I mean, the Ghanaians.
I have deep-rooted operation in
$4
Nigeria.
billion this
Nigeria is crap. No. Don't. The budget don't mean anything. The budget versus the impact of that budget in that country to lift the people.
Okay.
Because, okay, so why you say the budget and the budget that you are creating is in the hands of few people, or what you call GDP? These things don't mean anything. What means something? What impact is it actually making to really move the people in a positive direction? None of them. Nigeria, a country that is one of the largest oil producers, don't even have light. They can't even keep light on. We're doing stuff in Nigeria that we're having generator and solar power panel, and the whole place is a mess. That you can't even step outside Abuja without the threat of being kidnapped or butchered. You can't even move around. Ghana is a mess. They're supposed to have all this oil, but they're in debt to where they have to default, where they have to restructure. My brother, these guys are running a con game. Until we think about African center political system and economic policy, that actually truly you cannot take what the oppressor and the colonizers brought in, set it in place, and you stay over it and they control. How do you have everything that it needs to function? But they tell you that 1 unit of their currency is 1,000 units of yours. Something that they print as paper, they tell you that what's more valuable than the gold and the copper and all this stuff, that you give it to them for free and they hand you some credit. It's these kind of things. Nobody else that is in the right man. That is why the wealth of people is not in the land, it's in their head. If somebody is able to croak you, you can turn over everything you have. This is the manner in which we have to start thinking. And somebody shouldn't tell me democracy is not just a Western thing. My problem that I have is Western democracy is criminal, is fraudulent, it is deceptive, it's destabilizing, it is corrupt. We have to look at things a little bit differently.
Thank you, Mr.
So Western democracy is not the only form of democracy, but people want to tell me when I say it, okay, what else works? Anytime somebody want to do something that works, they come in, they threaten you, they impose sanctions, they overthrow you, then they say, you see, that didn't work. No, they stop you from making it work because they know that something else can work better than what they have. Now, I'm going to make this statement here. No, I've made this statement. We are sitting here today as we speak. Young men came to power in Burkina Faso, doing very well. Every day as we speak, they're trying to murder him. No African president is saying anything. Everybody watching. Tomorrow, when he's removed and the plunge book, then we say, you see, he was a military man, nothing worked. And they will give us that narrative.
Thank you.
Something worked.
Thank you, Mr. Tao. Dr. Budi, your closing, please.
Tao, you need to talk slow. This quickly. The ego got to fly today. First of all, Mr. Tao, let me just point some issues out here to you, right? The GD, saying you say, the budget, we shouldn't look at the budget. Okay, let's not look at the budget. All right, I'll take your point on that. The GDP of Ivory Coast in 2023 was 78.7 billion. All right, 78.7. Let's just say 79 billion. All right. The GDP of Liberia was 4.3. Right? That's how much we produce as a country. That one, and when you're talking about budget, you got budget, you can say that black, right? They want that production, the things you produce, the value of everything produced within the country. Thank God we got Mr. Kato here. He will tell you if I'm lying to you. Right? You can't get away from that. The reason is we're using Ivory Coast because it's across the border. And these people, look, there are advantages, right? There are advantages. They have a bigger population. Right, They've had connections to France for some period of time with Houphouët Boigny, whether you like it or not, that benefited the country to some extent. They probably made a lot of money out of Liberia because Charles they used to sing all his diamond and log and all those things. So there are a lot of things, right, that you can say they had as an advantage. And they've not had 14 years of civil war like we did. But still, there is more that can be done in Liberia that hasn't been done. I agree with you. And I'm happy today you pointed to the individuals as well. I'm not saying that the system is not flawed. The Constitution is clear. You want to remove somebody, here's the rule. It's not the Constitution that ain't follow the rule, it's the individuals that did not follow the rule. That's what I say. The Constitution of Liberia is clear that the power is vested in the people. These people act like the power is vested in them, right? They miseducate the people in Liberia. In Liberia for years, people in Liberia, ordinary people have been taught that anything government say goes, right? That's the mentality that we have. Anything the government say that you're correct. You can't challenge the government. Government know everything, right? So that's what people walk around with. So for a lot of young people, you say, oh, you need to stand up. They're like, how? They don't know how to stand up because they've not been educated. And look, you have the power to hold these people accountable. Trust me, if the Liberian young people had protested in their numbers against the 43, the president himself would have gone and called and said, because they would have brought the country to a standstill and said, look, this is unacceptable. It does not happen in our country. The Liberian people have to take responsibility for their own direction. Where they go, look, we're in the diaspora. We can shout as much as we want on a Sunday evening, afternoon. We can delay Mr. Nangbe from not going to watch his ego as much as we want. It wouldn't matter. If the people in Liberia will not get up and stand up for themselves, they will be the ones that will continue to speak like this about. They're the ones that need to hold the government accountable. This government has the opportunity to cut back. We mentioned this last week. Any president, that's what we talk about the individual, and that's why I said I was happy you brought the Burkina Faso guy. If Boakai had that mentality in this democracy, he would make a difference. Because when they send the budget to him, he said, I'm not signing any budget where a senator is making more than $5,000 a month. I don't care how you're sending it, I will veto it. If you're in do it, I'm going to tell the Liberian people that you're trying to eat their money. If you're in reduce the salary, I will not sign it. They will reduce the salary. If the president say LTA, you cannot send a budget to the legislature that has 15,000 per governor and 3,500 every month for generator. I can't accept that. LTA will not send it. It is the individual, right? These are the people that need to change. And if they change, I can guarantee you we will start to see a change in the system. But great show tonight. Nice having you, Mr. Carter. Hopefully we can welcome you back again sometime.
Thank you very much, Dr. Budi.
Thank you.
Did you close?
No,
close,
not yet. I'll be very quick.
Okay.
And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. And I think for what we see in Liberia, we think we have a democracy, right? But I will put it succinctly as a U.S. correspondent puts it. Just because a country has a peaceful transfer of power doesn't mean that country has a democracy. Just because a country has, a coup doesn't mean that country is a bad country. And for us, we thought, just because we had a transfer of power, peaceful transfer over the last how many elections since the war, we have this illusion that we have a peaceful democracy, but we don't have a democracy in Liberia. And that is to your point, Dr. Buddy, that a democracy, the power is invested in the people. Would you say since the end of the war, that power has been invested in the people? No, right? And that's the point that I'm trying to make here to the House of Representatives. Every one of us sitting on this show sees exactly what is happening in the House. So are the international partners, the investors who want to go in the country. They see the quagmire that is there, that is unresolved, yet we're pretending that we can just wing it. And a minority group can just come and take over. Circumventing the whole constitution, and we're pretending that we have a democracy. That is not a democracy. That is an illusion of a democracy that we have. And that has been the case since 2003, right? So that is the point that I want to make on the House of Representatives. And that is the thing that all of us need to be thinking. Do we really have a democracy? Is the country working for everybody? Or are we just looking at a show of representatives and senators fighting among themselves while you and I and everyone here just argue among ourselves, knowing what is right, but it's not being done, right? My second point here is the whole Prince Johnson and what happened in Nimba this weekend. Listen, we understand his whole method of coming to power. Supposedly, he's supposed to come to rescue people. Just because you come to rescue people and you commit murder does not make you a saint, right? It doesn't make you any better than the person you were fighting. The same way we condemn Doe is the same way we need to condemn Prince Johnson. I don't care if he came in and preached the sermon on the mountain for 21 years. We don't care. The fact is, he committed a crime, which is you kill a group of people. So did the person that you were coming to, you were supposedly fighting against, right? So this whole narrative that some people have that he is a savior, or he came to save a group of people, so that respect should be afforded to him. We don't see that, We don't buy that. Yes, God bless his soul. That's whatever crime he committed, that's going to be between him and his God, But there's a group of people here, everyone, who suffered the consequences of his actions. So what happened in Nimba is a lesson that all of us need to take away. And as I said with Senator Thomas, what he said exactly about Prince Johnson, that as bravely that we saw this individual parading around, people feared him for some of his comments that he make. He would threaten, or if this doesn't happen, there will be war in this country. He made a similar statement like that. But in reality, he was a scared individual running around behind doors, begging people to buy time. So the point that I'm trying to make here, and I'll be quick and I will end, is for every one of us here. This includes the people in the House of Representatives who are playing with the Liberian people, thinking that they are supposedly running a democracy when they're not. Your actions, you will be held accountable for your actions. This is a young country post-war. This is the order democracy. We're supposed to be the eighth factor in terms of every economic measure on that continent, how old we are. From an economic standpoint, growth, tourism, education. Country that we had 100-year start amongst other countries before these other countries even got their independence. But we continue to live on past glory. You hear people talking about the AU, the UN. We were there at the founding. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Yes, we were. But you're not going to continue to live on past glory. Time has lapsed. And here we are continuing to run a false democracy that we think we have a country. We do not. This is not a democracy. We can pretend because everything is okay now, right? And that is the problem that we have. So I don't, to be honest with you, I'm not a political junkie. Maybe most of you guys can answer that question. I don't know what's going to happen with this House of Representatives fiasco. Something has to happen. Somebody has to right the wrong, amend the Constitution, and if it gets exploited eventually again, so be it. But somebody has to fix it to continue to perfect it. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. And yeah, many argued that Kofa could have been one of those people who could have helped to fix it. Right now, he's a direct victim. But I want to thank you all very much. Great show. Hopefully, we'll come back here again on next Sunday and do it again. Thank you very much. Producers, if you're back there, please take us home.
The Washington Eagle.
I think so. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the weekend.
1 second, I'll close this up.
All right. Thanks.
One minute.
We all Labira. Labira is our home. Labira la vive.